I don't remember whose quote it was, but my rent is activism. My rent for living on this planet is making the world a better place.
Hi beautiful beings, it's Rebecca, the Vegan Pixie Warrior, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am talking to a fabulous activist today. His name is Izzy. He is from the States, he's in New York, and he is the kind of founder, well sort of, he was influenced by someone, but you'll find out more. But he started off Animals First on the 2nd, which is a great activism campaign. It's really easy to do. And I'm hoping by the end of this video, you'll be inspired to take part in Animals First on the 2nd next month. So check it out. Izzy, and welcome to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to talk to you too and meet you. And I've been a kind of follower of your page, which we'll get onto in a minute, for a while. So it's good to talk to you about what you do. So can you tell me, because I don't know, because I've never met you before, can
Sure.
you tell me why you went vegan, like when and why? What was the influence?
Yeah, sure. So about 7 years ago, I was essentially bedridden and disabled. I was in bed like 23 hours a day after a succession of injuries and small surgeries just kind of left me unable to just get myself back on a healthy track. And so, to make a long story short, I was obese and just, completely sedentary. And so I was looking for a way to regain my health, true health, and was sick of popping pills and lying on my back. And so I started looking through documentaries, and honestly, I found the Gerson documentaries first, which are a little silly, but have interesting ideas to them. But that led me to Forks Over Knives and then Vegucated. And next thing you know, on Friday night, I had watched 10 or 12 documentaries, everything I could find online for free, ranging all the way up to speciesism, and started looking at the ethical implications of animal agriculture, not even just the healthy idea of moving away from the standard Western diet to something else. And then watched Gary Yourofsky's speech twice in a row, stayed up all night, freaking out, waiting for my wife to wake up. And the second she woke up, I was like, you're going to watch this thing with me. Yep. And she had talked about it previously, about going vegan about a year previous, but it was like a 5-minute conversation. And I never even thought about it. So anyway, by that morning, I swore that I was going to eat the leftovers in my fridge, and then I would, nothing. From that moment, I made a change, and, I had a closet full of shoes because I was in fashion that I swore I was going to wear, and they would sit there, and every once in a while, I think 3 or 4 times I put a pair on and I would walk out the front door swearing that I was, this is okay. I had these from before I was vegan, and I felt like a fraud and a weirdo, and I felt disgusting. So I just immediately turned around and went back inside and took them off. And then I finally got rid of them. So that was it.
Really similar to us. We had, my husband came back. I watched Vegucated. That's what got me. It was 3 films, but Vegucated was definitely the tipping point. And my husband came back and said, I'm done. I'm going vegan. I didn't have to get him to watch anything. He was just like, okay, we'll do it. Right. We'd already produced and stuff. And he'd started that journey for health reasons for him. We cut out dairy already, but I said, I'm done. I'm going vegan. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it for the animals.
Right. I was still walking around that week, talking to my brother. Oh, I'm just trying this thing out. Oh, it's just, meanwhile, I had already in my head thought, how in hell are you been involved in this? I was 42 years old at that point. trying to figure out how the hell I didn't think about all of this stuff. And I mean, I've been involved in different social justice causes throughout the years and all different kinds of things, and just never added it up. And at that point, I was already lying to myself when I was telling people, "Oh, I'm just trying this thing out." Like, I already knew that there was no way I could go back to.
No, we emptied all the food in our freezer and cupboards and gave it to our neighbors across the road. Just like, I don't even want to use it up. I just want it out. That's it, done.
Right.
And I was the same. I was like 40 when I made that connection, and it's like, how the hell did it take me so long to?
Yeah.
And I've got vegan friends, but they didn't really kind of shove it in my face, and I think I needed it shoved in my face maybe a bit more to get that connection.
Sure.
So, what would you say? The Gary Yourofsky speech and the Vegetated and the other films you watched. What would you say to the people that made those films? And made those speeches?
I would say to Gary Yourofsky, while he's obviously a controversial person, and he is, he uses this inflammatory language very often, which sometimes can fall into the trap of becoming problematic. And he went through so many interviews where he was being challenged and ridiculed and fought back in weird ways, because he's human. He's not, he's not some politician that's going to be perfectly spoken each time.
No, exactly.
And in all of that, I would thank him for the massive work that people like him put in. I mean, Gary was an ALF hero for 10 years or something like that before he spent whatever that was, 8 years traveling, doing speech after speech of this incredible speech to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and then affecting millions. To people like him and people like the producers of Educated, who I also know, these are beautiful people that have been around long before us and paved the way when it was much more difficult. And the information wasn't all out there. Now, there's a million people that are all putting it out there. I'm putting it out there. You're putting it out there. And our job is a lot easier. People are more informed already. People are more receptive to these progressive ideas already in this, the current age,
Definitely.
Post all of these crazy dictator rulers that we're all dealing with, and weirdos. But just a big thank you, of course.
I had the pleasure of meeting Marissa and talking to Marissa from Vegetated, and it was amazing to actually thank her for making that film, because it's what made me go vegan. So I feel the same. Like, thank you for all the work that you do and that all the other activists do. Definitely.
Sure.
So how long did it take you between becoming vegan and getting active?
It was pretty much right away for me. So a couple of months after I went vegan, my wife happened to know another local vegan, introduced us. She, myself, and one other person created Vegans of New York about 3 months after I went vegan. And I immediately jumped into creating this very large local community. I'm not involved in it anymore, but I was immediately creating, we would have these events in this space in my home where we would have discussions about big topics and things like that. We would have social events, big ones at restaurants, with 50 or 100 people, and activism and volunteerism. We made I had met people who owned a local sanctuary, which has now grown into the largest local sanctuary in the area, massive. And so we made a connection between Vegans of New York and them, which has lasted now for a very long time. And lots of members are constantly donating their time and energies to them. So right away, I think, I went vegan 2014 in July, and by October, I was already starting to build Vegans of New York. And then we had a Facebook group a month later, and then our first event. That's
awesome. That's so good. And that's the thing, like that network, that community of activists is so important, I think.
Right.
I didn't know many. I think we knew vegans that were like friends of my husband's from before, but they're not active vegans. But they live in a different area of the country, so I didn't know any vegans in my city where I was. So it wasn't until I became active that I got to meet those people, and then it's just grew and grew and grew and grew, and it's just now it's worldwide. So
Right.
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And
My
I love
actual first traditional form of activism was so soon after I went vegan that I wasn't sure how to find real vegan shoes. So it was a wintertime circus protest. I'm wearing canvas shoes in the snow when it's 10 degrees. I couldn't figure out what kind of gloves I was allowed to wear, that I could find that were cruelty free. So I was wearing just regular like cloth ones, which had gotten wet and frozen while I was holding this thing. I didn't have a proper jacket yet that wasn't down, so I was wearing as many layers as I could fit underneath this other weird jacket on top of it, and I'm standing there anyway, protesting Ringling Brothers in Brooklyn. And
that's
so
brilliant.
yeah, I mean, I was just right away. I have this thing in my life where when I find something that I'm passionate about, I immerse myself in it, and usually even switch my career to go do it. I mean, I grew up as a musician, and when I found fashion, I just moved straight into fashion. When I found something else, I moved straight into that. So that's what I did with veganism too. I was working for 2 vegan companies immediately. I was the retail and operations manager for Brave Gentleman, which is the first and really only vegan and sustainable luxury menswear line in the world.
Wow.
At the same time, I was also the nutrition counselor for Brooklyn NP, which is our local vegan medical clinic, all vegan medical clinic next to world famous Champs Diner and Dunwell Donuts and all these. There's a little sort of vegan hub over in that area of my neighborhood, which is, I live in like the most vegan neighborhood on the planet. I mean, we've have everything from vegan tattoo shops to vegan pizza shops to 2 vegan cheese shops in one neighborhood. I mean, everything. You got vegan medical clinic, vegan donuts, vegan restaurants, uncountable restaurants. You can walk into any bar, a random bar, and say, who's vegan in here? And 5 people will raise their hand.
That's amazing. Yeah, Bristol's very
2.
much, Bristol's like that. There's a lot of stuff going on in Bristol with regards to veganism, and there's some good independents out here, and yeah, it's good. We need a cheese shop though. We've got a few cheese makers that will deliver, and they sell at markets, but we do need a cheese shop. That's what we definitely need. Animals first on a second, which is why I've asked you to do this interview today.
Right.
Where did that idea come from? Because it's fantastic. Tell me about that.
Thanks. So, Animals First on the Second is a vegan advocacy campaign that occurs every month on the second day of the month, where we wear an enigmatic mark on our hands and fast for the day to talk about one of the many ways that we treat animals poorly, in this case, starving them on the way to slaughter. And so this is an extension of the yearly fast against slaughter that was started by Alex Hershaft and FARM, the Farm Animal Rights Movement. He, for about 3 decades, had been fasting every year on World Day for Farmed Animals, which is also Gandhi's birthday. And I noticed that I did it the first year I was vegan, and the second year, and the third year, I kind of noticed that there was less happening about it, less engagement, less out there in the social media world about it, less people participating. I guess it was the third year, and then maybe the fourth year, I think third or fourth year, I noticed there was almost nothing, no update really on their page and things like that. And I said to myself, this is such a cool thing. People get such a deepened connection with animals when you experience this fasting for the day. It'd be great if we could overcome a couple of the weird issues with it. Like, people would always say, why are you doing that? It's so self-serving. Nobody knows you're fasting. What is that? Yeah. What is that going to do? So I said, well, what if there's a way that we could identify our fasts throughout the day? And what if there was a way where we could make it more functional? And I was like, and you know what? Maybe we could do it more often. And so I said, I'm going to contact them and see what the deal is going on. And so I talked to them and talked to their marketing manager, who was a friend of mine online. And I said, this looks like something that could grow. And I would love to do this monthly thing. Is that okay? You guys look like you're not really moving forward with it. And he said, yeah, Alex thinks of it almost as welfareist, that people are going to think of it that way. Oh yeah, you just want to feed the animals before you slaughter them. Great. And he doesn't feel like that. He didn't feel like that was the point of it, but he thought that people were perceiving it that way and didn't really want to move forward with it as a farm initiative any longer. So I said, great, I want to run with this. And I have some ideas to add to it to make it more functional as advocacy. And so that next month, I said, I'm just going to tell everybody I'm fasting in protest to raise awareness for animals. And I'm going to start this little group, and maybe a dozen people will do it with me if I can really work hard. And I think 100 or 200 people did it with me the first month. And I started to make videos about it and tell everybody about it and spread the message. And interestingly, right away, people were like, you wear this mark, and people said, the whole point of it is for it to be enigmatic, for you to not know what it is. And people say, hey, what's that on your hand? And people said, I talked to my entire office at work. For the first time ever, I was able to have a conversation about veganism with these people, and they're asking me. So not only am I not being obtrusive and forcing a conversation on them, they're coming to me and asking me these things. And then next month, when I do it again, the conversation can continue. Other people having conversations with their family and friends for the first time ever, without having to force it, without it being this confrontational thing. There's something different about advocacy when they initiate the conversation and they decide to ask questions. Agreed. Instead of you saying, hey, I want to tell you about this. Hey, take this flyer, take this brochure, take this thing. I want to tell you about this thing. People are, it's not. But when they've decided this is the time that I want to give you, it's much better.
Definitely. And that's how I feel about the Liberation Pledge. It's a conversation starter, definitely. And people ask me questions, and the same with like Animals First on the Second. Like, I'm rubbish at doing it. I have to admit, I always forget. And then unless I know a friend will remind me and go, oh, by the way, it's tomorrow's second. I'm like, okay, right. And then I do it. I get myself in that mindset. But it's incredibly powerful activism, I think. And you're right. People come to you and they ask, what's that mark on your hand? What are you doing? And you haven't been to the machine today to get some crisps out of the machine, or chips, as you would say. So you started with like a couple of hundred. And when did this start? When did the Facebook page start at?
That was right in the first month, 40 months ago now. So nearly 3.5 years ago, right away, I started the Facebook group. And it took off pretty fast. I mean, immediately it was big in the US and Australia, and a couple of other places had, some decent membership, but now it's getting really big in South America and Japan. Poland has this massive contingency of people that are doing it. And I guess it was just in some socially conscious magazine last month. So I'm getting a big influx of people from there. But yeah, the Facebook page started right away, and people started to pour in. And in the beginning, I was able to kind of guesstimate how many people were participating. Now I have no idea. I mean, in particular, because there are a lot of countries that don't really use Facebook, like the US and the UK use Facebook and stuff like that. And a lot, the Japanese people are almost exclusively on Instagram when I see them. And same with South America. Sometimes some of those countries, Colombia is very big with it and has been for years. And now, we're expanding. Argentina has their own Instagram fast against slaughter version, and Uruguay just started a Facebook group so that they could translate everything for their country. So it's growing. It's good. It's fun.
Yeah, social media is great. And how does it make you feel to know that that little, I know it was Alex's idea, but you ran with it, and how quickly it's grown and affected people around the world. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good. I don't exactly sit back and pat myself on the back or anything. It's one tool that people can use. I feel really good about where it is and what it's affected. I, of course, want more. I want it to grow bigger. I mean, the whole point of the idea after I started it and figured out what I want with it is not about the fasting, and it's about the animals, and it's about it's about raising awareness on that day. I hope someday that the mark is like Ash Wednesday. It's just you recognize a whole bunch of people wearing that mark everywhere, and that those people are thinking about animals and putting animals first on that day in their thoughts and in their actions, regardless of what type of person they are. And I hope that my goal, one of the goals with it, is to grow it to a place where on the second day of every month, there are lots of things related to animals happening. There are events of all kinds and people doing all kinds of things, so that regardless of what happens throughout the rest of the month, and I encourage all my members, don't sit around and talk about AFOTS for the rest of the month. Go do a cue, go do a protest, go teach somebody something. I shut the group down for a couple of weeks because I don't want you sitting around talking about this. I want you to use this as one thing to do, and then go do something else.
There are so many forms of activism out there. Like I went for a walk today with my friend, and I wore this hoodie, and I had my coat open, and it was chilly, but I was like, do you know what? Someone's going to see that, and it might make some sort of connection. So whether it's doing this or street activism, which is my favorite form of activism, I love doing outreach and street activism.
Right.
Yeah, like there are so many different forms, and to have that other option for somebody that they might not have found anything, but fasting might be their thing. It might be something that they're comfortable to do for the animals, and they might feel more comfortable talking to them rather than going up to people and handing leaflets out, like you said earlier.
Right. And it is a good for entry level activism. It is a really good way for introverts. It is a really good way. And like I said, it's not just about the fasting. You can wear, in addition to the circled X mark, we have also a circled check mark for people who can't fast for medical reasons or other personal reasons, people who want to learn to live vegan for a day and they're mentored by another AFOTS member. And it's just a really good way for anybody to get their feet wet or find their voice. You don't have to approach anyone. If you're an introvert, they can come talk to you. You have a quick conversation, and then when you're wearing a shirt like that in the future, that cumulative experiences can turn into finally you saying, all right, now I need to look into this.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I wish, I'd done, I'd met someone on the street doing a Cuba Truth years ago. I think that would have switched me 100%. And that's the whole point of this channel, is just to sing up all other activism, all forms of activism, and other activists, and lift them up. I'm fed up with the invite, and I want to lift people up rather than put them down and sing out, because what works for me isn't going to work for someone else, and it's the same, like vice versa. What works for someone else isn't going to necessarily be my favorite form of activism or something that I agree with, but it's going to work for somebody else, and that's why I want to showcase everybody as much as possible. What would you say, my last question, what would you say to vegans out there who are yet to become active? What would you say to encourage them?
So I was always of the mind that not everybody needs to be an activist. And I still believe that, but everybody does need to take responsibility to be an advocate. You don't need to think of activism as screaming in somebody's face in the street holding a sign. You don't need to think of activism as any one particular thing, and you don't have to spend your whole life doing it. And you don't have to every day kill yourself if you can't find another way to get active, but you do have to advocate in some way. I mean, they say that, I don't remember whose quote it was, but my rent is activism. My rent for living on this planet is making the world a better place, or whatever their quote was. But that's the point of it, is that find something like AFOTS or like a simple, go volunteer at a Cube of Truth and say nothing. Hold a screen. Stand there and listen. Stand there and be a part of this growing chorus of people. And some people will have fortes. Some people will be better at relating to people and speaking. Some people can just support. There's lots of different things that you can do without thinking to yourself, this one thing is not within my wheelhouse or not. Yeah. I can't do it. I'm too much of an introvert. There's always something. Find somebody who's active, who's truly active in lots of things, and they will find something appropriate for you and something that you'll feel comfortable doing.
Definitely. And I keep trying different things, you know, go to, if you go to a cube and you don't like it, you know, go to a chalking event and try that, or, you know, go to a save vigil, you know, it's just keep trying until you find that niche. Definitely. I agree.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Izzy. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm hoping that people will be inspired to get active, and definitely check out the page, and I'll pop the links in the description below so everyone can find it.
Great. Thank you so much. It was good to talk to you.
Yeah, and you, definitely, 100%.
So I hope you enjoyed that. Izzy is so energetic and infectious. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I just felt pumped afterwards, just like ready to get out there and do some activism. Really inspiring guy. If you have been inspired to take part in Animals First on a Second, please put a comment below. I'd love to know. Don't forget to check out the link in the description for the Animals First on a Second Facebook and Instagram pages. A big shout out to my patrons that support me on my Patreon page. If you want to support me in making more content and inspiring others to get active, then please check out the link below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and share this video, and I'll see you next time.